nothing else sounds as good as
WEFM, the only fresh sound.
Rise and shine. Let's get ready to take on the day. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
It's the same. Oh gosh. I forget which day it was. I forgot the day. I had a rhyme coming in and I was like, oh wait, what day is it? Wow. Me forgetting what day it is. Wow. So I need some rest. I'm just going. Anyways, good morning, Roleza. Good morning, listeners. I hope that you're doing much better than me this morning. I hope that you have been resting your bodies as we need to do, as we must do to function properly, so that our bodies don't say, I'm tired of you, me give up. Right? We don't want that to happen. I hope that you're doing well this morning. Outside is looking fairly well, fairly nice. Looks like we'll have some good-ish weather. Right? Roleza, what's up?
Yeah, my heart's still pounding. My heart ain't settled down yet, you know.
Listen, I'm traumatized. I am traumatized.
Settled down yet. Listen, folks. Good morning, everybody, by the way. I have manners. Good morning, everybody. So first thing as Dianna and I came through the door this morning, looked down. This was that. It was a centipede, a big centipede. So, of course, the first reaction from me would be to scream, right? There is absolutely no other reaction, first reaction than to scream.
Correct.
Right? So then I looked around and I saw a quote-unquote big gun spraying this centipede, and the centipede would not stop. The centipede would not bid. I tried to get into the studio, the centipede crawling all over the place, right? Dianna then has to go and take this shoe and hit the centipede. Listen, folks. While it is you see me having mouth hair on air, it's not the same when it comes to centipedes and bats. All right? Centipedes and bats will bring me to my knees, and you will see me acting like a child. Recently, I went by a business place, an organization. So I walked up these steps like normal. I ain't studied anything, right? Not to walk back down the steps was the problem, because when I looked directly in front of me, there were like 3 bats hanging over. So then I had to go and tell the person, y'all know bats here. So then the person's like, Holly Mount, you afraid bats? I'm going to call in on the radio tomorrow and tell people how you're afraid bats. You know, they had to watch me walk down the steps. Yeah, I tell you, I don't play with these things. My heart still has not fully settled down from seeing that centipede this morning. I'm telling you, from the time I walk from outside of the studio to anywhere else, I'll be looking down.
Yes.
I will be looking down, because I do not play with these things. I was just so fearful that it was going to come inside the studio, because if I come inside the studio, then it's real problem. Right? It's problems.
Trouble up in the place.
I would have put on an automation so fast and tried to find this centipede because, right? But these are little things. I mean, it's one thing for us to love to see nature. Like, I love to see bush, right?
Yes.
I wouldn't lie. I love to see bush. I love to see grass. I love to see vegetation. But amongst the vegetation, there are things living among it, you know, and I'm just there like, oh gosh. So yes, my heart got a good jump start this morning. If I needed a boost to wake me up, that centipede was the boost to wake me up, right? But I don't want to have to see it anytime. Another one anytime soon.
At all. Listen, I saw something a couple of years ago that says the animals have so much outside for themselves. Why they keep coming in our buildings? They have the whole up.
But I guess it's because we've invaded their territory.
Well,
right? Because
that is true.
God did not make concrete buildings, right? So
that is true.
Yeah, but we can coexist, creatures. We can coexist. Y'all stay in y'all lane and let's stay in ours. That
is it. In your own lane. That's something that's always going to be on the mind. But on we go, and we go in with a Vinci Creole this morning.
And says iguana will soon come up. And I don't have a problem with iguanas. Well, they don't ever come up. We look at them. I've never had an encounter with any. So They know where they're supposed to be.
The only thing I am afraid of about the iguana, they say that they beat you with their tail, they hit you with their tail. That's the only thing I'm afraid of. I don't want to get lashed with no tail, but once you stay there and I stay here, all is well.
I'm a cry. The only thing I don't afraid is fish, right? Anything else, I'm a cry.
I thought I was bad, but apparently I'm very brave. You know, the other day I was looking at my son and I was thinking, this is not my child, you know, whose child is this? Because he's brave with all of those creatures. Me, I would run and panic and all of these things, but he would just go and pick it up and like I saw this lizard and I was running from the lizard and he just go and pick up the lizard casually and put it outside. I'm like, okay. Then the other day I saw a bug and just like you, my first thing is to scream and run and panic and all of that. And I started to do all of that. I was like, oh, look, the bug. And he just go and pick up the bug with his bare hand. And I was like, whose child is this?
Yeah,
because that's not me.
Yeah, I live with lizards and I live with millipedes. Like those two things are always in my home. So I'm not afraid of those. But anything else, like a hummingbird came in the other day and the hummingbird would not move. Right. And the only thing was for me to, I mean, it would have been so, I sound evil, but if it had not moved at a specific time when I needed to close up, I was going to spray big on just to try to get it to go out. But the hummingbird came and the hummingbird stayed for a good 30 minutes.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
I was just like,
I'm sure there's some old saying about when a bird comes into your home. Somebody tell me. I'm pretty
somebody
sure.
actually told me that it brings blessings.
Ah.
But the thing, it wasn't flying around too much, but I think it came to breeze out. I think it thought like it had.
See the house nice, man, and it must look well nice
I
and
think
comfortable.
it had marriage problems or children problems. So it really did come to breeze a while because I could not understand. You don't normally see a hummingbird saying still. The hummingbird just stayed.
Oh, you know, that's true. I've never seen them still in truth.
Yeah, it just.
Should I take a picture?
I have a video. I have a video.
Nice,
I'm like,
nice.
why this thing not moving? But yeah.
Such is it with those creatures, eh? Anyways, people, enough of that. I'm going into giving you our saying. So for today, what does it mean when Vinci people say kaba kaba? What does kaba kaba mean? I'm giving you two. What is kaba kaba and what is deadlift?
Oh Lord!
What? you know.
Nobody deadlift.
Take with us, guys, trouble. So what is deadlift and what is kaba kaba? Right. So while we think about that, we're going into a story this morning. So I'm going to read briefly from an Eyewitness News article that is entitled "Court Awards 102,000 to Man Who Cop Shot in Unprovoked Attack." So the story is about. Let me read this first paragraph. The High Court has ordered Corporal of Police Mohammed Lavia and the Attorney General to pay a man who Lavia of Owe shot in an unprovoked attack on March 3rd, 2019. And he is being told to pay a total of $102,754,000 EC dollars in compensation and legal fees. So I want to go into all the details in the article. If you want, you can go there and read it, but basically it speaks about the quota awarding what's the man's Okino Fergus. Okino Fergus was shot by police officer Mohammed Lavia, and I'm gonna go down. Okay, so let me give you this because I think this is important, right? So on Tuesday, the High Court Master Cybel Sinak Dantes ordered that the injured man, who is Okino Fergus, who is also of Oya, ordered that he receive $65,000 for his pain and suffering and loss of amenities as a result of the gunshot injury. He is also to receive $15,000 in exemplary and aggravated damages, and $6,000 for future medical care, $1,178 for special damages, and $15,576 and 70 cents for legal fees. Interest is to be levied at 4% as of July 2022. Gone. Right when Fergus won the lawsuit he brought against Lavia and the government. So he was represented by Jomo Thomas and Zita Barnwell, and the Attorney General and the Officer Lavia were represented by Ladale Hall. So I don't know if you know of this story, but just to recount, on March the 3rd, 2019, around 3 a.m., the complainant, that's the correct term for the person, the complainant, who is Fergus. He and the three of his friends were traveling from Sandy Bay to Fancy in two separate vehicles. Fergus was in one in front, his friends in one of the vehicles behind. His friends stopped him and said, "I forgot my phone, we have to go back." Right? So they decided to return to the neighboring community to collect the device, while the other three waited for him in the area in Owia where they had stopped. So they stopped near a shop and bar where there was a fete and a bingo taking place. Fergus and his witness, Zarok Bowens, recounted to the court that while they were standing, Lavia, so the officer's brother, whose name is Paggy, came down the steps with the officer walking behind him. When the officer's brother the officer's brother and the officer passed, his brother greeted the two men, which is Simmons and Fergus, and of course they returned the pleasantries. And then the officer said to his brother, "You are shot them dotish man dey." So Fergus said to the officer, "If me dotish, you dotish too." The officer said to him, "What you say there? What?" And then of course he repeated, he said, "When me do you? When me beep do you?" Right? So Lavia was about 5 feet away and getting closer, and even his brother was trying to stop him, but he persisted. He went on. The officer grabbed a beer bottle from his brother's hand, threw it at Fergus, but he ducked, so he missed it. And then he asked the officer again, "When me do you? When me beep do you?" Right? Eventually, Fergus had a bag which he handed to his friend as he was getting ready in case the officer hit him. And the officer pulled his gun from his waist and shot Fergus in his leg. All right. And then he left the scene. And that's the case there.
All right. Yeah.
I was trying to find some information to see. The first thing I wanted to know was the maximum amount that could be awarded, but I wasn't able to get that information as yet. But you can go ahead now. Yeah.
All right. So I think it's also important to know that in the 15-page judgment, Justice Henry found that Lavia and the state liable to Fergus for assault and battery in connection with the injuries from the gunshot and damages. Justice Henry said, "I cannot understand what would drive a police officer to treat a resident of a country and in the way Corporal Lavia behaved towards Mr. Fergus that morning. It was inhumane, merciless, aggressive, high-handed, and totally undeserved," the judge said in the scathing judgment. All right. So I know the article started off stating that the High Court has ordered Corporal Lavia and the Attorney General to pay Mr. Fergus, but it's actually the state is going to be paying all of this, right? It's not, let's say a joint payment. It's our taxpayers' money that are going to end up paying for this situation. And when I read it last night, I was in two minds because I was saying I'm quote unquote happy because I don't normally see a lot of stories like this in the news, right? I think this might be the first one, or maybe it's just because I've had to pay attention a little bit more now. So I'm happy that this situation or this matter came before the court because I know that there are many instances where persons would say, "Boy, don't go through with that," right? Because you would never win against the state, or police might not, or it might not get to be taken further. So in one aspect, I'm happy that that it went the full force and I shouldn't use the word force, but anyway, went the full extent and that he has been awarded with damages, right? Yeah. On the other hand, though, the action of the police officer as reported here, as stated here, again, for persons who might be reading it and for those persons who already have a particular view towards police officers, this is also like one of those situations that gives the view of how police officers are in terms of people painting a broad picture of many police officers in the force, right? Now, of course, we know that there are a lot more positive or good police officers out there who are actually doing right by citizens and doing their duties and executing their responsibilities to the fullest, right? And even going above and beyond. But then sometimes it's these little stories where you see somebody being arrogant in a sense, right? Because to me, it was arrogance that came through, that he took a high-handed measure in order to, I guess, I don't know, maybe it was an ego trip or whatever he was on, right? So when you see stories like this, there are persons who don't much up the police, who are going to be like, you see, them police officers and painting a broad brush with
as
police
they
officers.
Say, one man just skin cheap spoil the whole flock.
Right. So I mean, so on both hands, it's a good and a kind of a negative thing as well. But it does show persons that if you do have an issue against the action taken by a particular police officer, you just never know how far you can, quote unquote, get your justice. All right. So that was those are just my takeaways from the article and from the situation.
Yeah, I was also pleased that he was, awarded this money. To think that who's paying for it? To think about the state paying for it. Now that part.
And that was what I was having a conversation with a friend last night. And I was like, so what exactly is Lavia's punishment in all of this? Because it's our taxpayers' money that's going to be paying for it. It's not to say it's coming out of his pockets, Under different circumstances, I can possibly understand, let's say a police officer unintentionally did something and as a result, damages had to be awarded to the person. But if you take, you through your arrogance, you did something, man, you should be the one to pay.
Exactly.
But of course, it's not going to work that way, because you can't pick and choose when the state pays and when an individual pays. The law doesn't work like that, but it was just like one of those stories like, no,
I know.
I don't care for my money to be used for this purpose. Right. But that was just, those are just my thoughts and my takeaways from the article.
All right. So there you have it, folks. Don't forget what is kaba kaba and what is deadlift. We are leaving you right now so that we can bring to you our traffic talk in just a few seconds. All right. So we will be right back at 7:45 with more talk.